So good morning and welcome to the BirdDog Technology Limited Investor Webinar. BirdDog is a global video technology company that enhances the quality, speed and flexibility of video through a range of solutions augmented with NDI. Yesterday, the company listed on the ASX under the ticker code BDT. To ask a question throughout this presentation, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So today I'm joined by the Executive Director and CEO, Dan Miall, to run through the presentation. So Dan, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Jane, and we're really excited to be here. Firstly, I'd like to introduce the executive leadership team. So myself, I'm Dan, and co-founder Eamon, who's also our Chief Marketing Officer. And to my right is also Bary, Calnon, our Chief Financial Officer, also a co-founder. We're really excited about what happened yesterday, floating the company. It's been a long time in the making, certainly in the history of the company, but it's very exciting, as you can surely imagine, especially this time of year. I might start off explaining a bit more about the company and how we go about things, and really what the benefit is of the products that we make and why we've been successful so far. BirdDog was built on a technology called NDI, which is Network Device Interface. It's a way of sending live video over computer networks. Now, you might think it's pretty simple to watch video over the internet. You've watched Facebook videos before, Netflix, YouTube. There's been plenty of video on the internet for quite some time. The difference is we do live video, and that's applicable for things like sporting events, for corporate AV environments, or live television and broadcast, because we get video from one place to the other with effectively no delay at all. And that's really important for any kind of live production. Now, there's been a real challenge with that in going to computer networks, because getting the quality and also the speed requires really powerful and expensive computer networking. What NDI did was enable the way forward, where we can use regular computer networks that are in every office building, quite often in houses as well. And we can use those regular blue cables to send high quality broadcast video with ultra low latency or extremely high speed across that. This is a real paradigm shift for any kind of live production. Anytime you go to a broadcast event or a live event, you'll see those big production trucks that are sitting out the front of a stadium or at a concert hall. That's tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, but also really expensive and skilled video engineers that need to run that kind of show. What our products and the NDI solution overall offers is a far more simplified and also much more cost-effective way of getting the same outcome as what you traditionally have to do with those really high-end broadcast systems. The great thing with this is more people are able to tell their story in a better way. So a lot of our customers will range from the high-end broadcasters right through to community television stations, churches, community sporting clubs, and education. So we've got a great and broad set of customers. And essentially what we do on top of this technology, where it makes it easier and lower cost to get in, is we make hardware products that make it easy to actually produce those video productions. So we've got a range of cameras that we create, and they're robotic cameras, which means remotely you can control the pan, the tilt, and the zoom, and frame up that shot, or even move the camera while it's being used for a live production. We also create converter products, which allow you to plug in, for example, a laptop or a video playing system, and convert those into this NDI standard as well. The great thing with NDI is once it's on a computer network, it can be accessed anywhere. So where a traditional broadcast system would need specific cables going from one point to another, effectively any network point on your computer network is available to be part of a production. So flexibility is a really big key of what we offer as well. So that's kind of a roundup of the technology that we've got. As far as the company, we've been around for 5 years, and it started out at the very beginning of this NDI revolution. As soon as we heard about it, we thought, you know what, it'd be a good idea to make a hardware product to allow people to convert regular video into this NDI standard. And that set us on our journey. Over the past 5 years, we've produced over 20 hardware products and a whole slew of software products that join this together. And we've seen some great success. We certainly have had some benefits with COVID in the fact that people need to use remote productions and have less people involved. But what we really are very confident about is it's brought forward this move from a regular sort of video production into this network and interconnected internet network productions. And so for that, that's got a very bright future. The whole industry for live video production is moving this way. We're very much the leader in this. We're the pioneers in NDI technology, and we absolutely intend to move forward and continue to be those pioneers. So we'll talk a bit more as we go through the presentation about our use of funds and how we're going to make the most of this. But essentially for now, I'll just dwell slightly more on this slide, which is we have a global presence. We've got our main office here in Collingwood in Melbourne, Australia. We've also got a support office over in the USA and staff around the world. We sell our products in many different countries around the world, and we've seen some great success in all regions. As far as where we're heading, we have a 5-year product roadmap that we're really keen to accelerate. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And so I think with that, Bary, we might move forward. So I've given you a little bit of a preview on some of these stats. We've got 20 hardware products in market. Now, these represent everything from our cameras that allow people to actually record video and use that in a live production, right through to converters, which can put video back onto TV screens or allow people to record or take video in from various things like laptops, for example, and use them over the network. Key to our success really has been our software platform, though. We've been really obsessed with workflows. And that means that on top of having a little black box or a camera that can make this NDI video, our software creates an actual solution for people so that they can control and use and get the most out of that purchase. And that's been a big key to our success and making sure that we always maintain the benefit of people using our products rather than other companies' products. I mentioned that we're on sale globally. Probably one stat here that's really important is we've sold over 40,000 pieces to date. And keeping in mind, the average selling price ranges from somewhere close to $1,000 right up to $8,000 for some of our camera products, and that's US dollars. That's a pretty significant number of units that we've sold, and it shows that there really is a demand for this type of technology. We've seen some great success, and Bary will talk a little bit more about the figures as we move forward, but we've certainly seen some great growth in the uptake as this NDI world has become more applicable to people and more visible, and we certainly intend to continue to capitalise on that. Now, this is a little bit of a technical slide, but I'll try and walk through it as best I can. To say that there's only one technology out there that's broken the back of this new way of making things would be not telling the full truth. There's a few different technologies that have come to the surface over the last few years, and NDI is one of them. And it's certainly been the most successful and the most prolific out there. Key to the success of NDI is that it's actually a software-defined platform. And that means that any computer in the world can receive the signals that NDI creates and ultimately the signals that any of our BirdDog products create. And that means it's infinitely scalable, but also very low cost to deploy. So NDI has been really popular with everything from platforms like Zoom that we're using today to Microsoft Teams that natively support this format, right through to really specific creative applications for concerts and for video productions. So NDI's got many hundreds and thousands of applications that can receive and interact. And it's also free for people to develop their own applications as well. And that's really been the key to the success, is the ease of implementation, the cost of getting it onto your infrastructure. You don't need expensive infrastructure, but really the fact that there's a huge amount of software applications that can work with it. So BirdDog, being around for 5 years, has developed a number of proprietary technologies. Now, NDI is a standard that we adhere to, and we have a license agreement with the makers of NDI. And you'll see on this slide here, there's a blue box down the bottom. That shows the bit that we effectively use from that license, which makes sure that any video that we send over a computer network is compliant with this NDI standard, so it works with any product, any other product. Everything above that in the green box is our own technology that we've built, and it really is the secret to our success and the reason why we are the leader. We have our own video processing technology that means we're the fastest and highest quality, but it also makes us the most flexible because we design not only our hardware, but also the IP or the technology we put in the hardware. So we have the highest quality cameras, we've got the most flexible converters, and really we've got the largest overall solution of anyone in the NDI space. And that's really been the reason why we are the leaders in the NDI space and are making some big inroads into this AV or video over IP technology. So we're really proud of the technology we've built, and we'll continue to do this through the use of funds, which we'll talk about shortly. But we've got some great new productions or great new technology we're working on as well. In terms of products, I've mentioned a few things about cameras and converters. We've really got 4 pillars of our product range, starting with our pan, tilt and zoom cameras. So they're our cameras that have our technology built in. We've seen some great success with this in the fact that all of our cameras are built around professional video. So while some of them look suspiciously like a security camera, what we've actually built inside is much more like a broadcast television camera. And that's why our customers love them, because it gives them great picture quality, but also keeps things nice and flexible in the fact that you can just plug one cable in to your network and use them. So our camera range starts at $1,500 in US dollars and goes up to $8,000. And they're used by some of the largest broadcasters in the world, but they're also present in boardrooms around the place as well, and people creating YouTube type videos. Converters really are the interface, or the innies and outies of this digital world of NDI. They allow you to take a signal from something that's got a HDMI or video output and convert it directly into this NDI world. But they can also go the other way around. And we've seen some great success in distribution of video, where you can use one of our devices, one of our converters, to receive this signal and display it back onto a TV screen. It becomes a really great workflow where you don't need to have cables anywhere. It's a really neat solution for any kind of video distribution, which really leads us on to the AV product segment that we have. We've had some great relationships with some large companies, one of which is Sharp NEC, where we've developed a customized board called SDM. And that allows us to put our BirdDog technology directly into a commercial display. So for AV productions or AV installations, they can have a screen with nothing else but a power cord and a network cable, and have a completely automated and integrated AV solution. It's a really elegant way to move things, and we see this as a really strong driver for the future with BirdDog in installing large corporate AV installations. The final section, which I've mentioned briefly, is our software. We've got a whole bunch of software solutions that allow everything from a live production crew to communicate with each other, to be able to control what video goes on what screen at any time. But it's been a real success story in making sure once people are in our ecosystem, they stick with it. And so we absolutely plan on growing out that software ecosystem. While at the moment it hasn't produced significant revenues, it's been a sticking solution where it allows people to continue, or makes people want to continue to use our products. Throughout 2022, we've got some big plans and some product releases that will allow us to capitalize much more on the software solutions. Now, BirdDog, on this slide, really what I want to talk about is that we are a cloud-first company. Whilst we make hardware products that can be in a boardroom or in a studio or in a concert hall, all of our products are designed to be anywhere in the world and interconnected. We have this product and platform called BirdDog Cloud, which allows us to connect and control and use any of our products anywhere in the world. And this creates almost a utopian way of doing a live production. You can have the world's best producer who could be in Hong Kong, and you can have the production being done in San Francisco or Melbourne. And it doesn't matter where they are, because they can all be involved in the production. And this is something that frankly was not able to be done before the advent of NDI and then BirdDog's technology above that. So we've got some great solutions that allow true global scale for production and global scale for AV communications as well. So it's really is everything that we do is designed to be interconnected with each other. We've had some recent product releases, and something we're quite famous for is the speed of our development and creating new products. Without going into too much detail on these products, what we've seen here is really new releases over the last few months across all of our product platforms. So in our camera lineup, we've released a new product which is called the PF120. This is designed for a fixed camera where you might have a goal line or something like that, where you don't need to have full robotics. And this has been a great success that we've designed as a product from the ground up and seen great traction. That SDM, or the Sharp NEC product I mentioned earlier, that's only just hit the market. Now, interestingly, this product has quite a substantial sales cycle, but it also has some great opportunities. We're seeing some large organisations looking at putting them in through tenders, and that process takes some time, but we really do see this is going to be a big driver for revenue moving forward. And the reception so far has been outstanding. In the converter range, we've got the world's lowest cost NDI converter, and this really allows us to scale up. We see these being used in boardrooms around the world, as well as in reception areas for companies where they need to display video. So we've got some great opportunities there where we're seeing some really significant demand for that new product called BirdDog Play. We've also introduced a whole new cloud platform for our software side of things, which allows you to install an app on your mobile phone or TV and control any of your cameras or any of your devices anywhere in the world. It is a world first, and we've got some great reception on that product as well. So this is really just a taster for some of the announcements we've got. We're very conscious of making sure that we produce products across all of our range and always have announcements for all of them. And we'll talk a little bit more about the future slightly later in the presentation. In terms of our footprint, I mentioned a little earlier, we have our head office here in Collingwood in Melbourne. We've got plenty of staff here, and this is where our core engineering is done. So all of our product engineering is developed here. Then we have various people around the world that have both support functions. In the USA, we have a support office in Michigan. We've also got sales engineers to tell our story and to make people understand our products all over the world, in the USA, Australia, and also in Europe. We've got sales presence around the world. We operate a distribution model, which means that we have representatives that sell our products through a channel. And again, we've got distributors. There's over 12 distributors around the world that stock our products and make sure that they're available for customers anywhere in the world. In terms of manufacturing, our products, while they're designed here, we do manufacture in Southeast China currently. We are looking and exploring at different ways that we can expand out that manufacturing as both demand increases, but also to protect against any supply chain issues that I'm sure people have heard about, and I'll talk a bit more in the future. So we have some pilot productions being done in South Korea for our cameras, and also in Busan in Indonesia for our converters. So I think that's a great opportunity, and that's part of the use of funds, is expanding out that production to make sure we meet the demand. Bary, I might turn over to you and take a breath to talk a little bit about the financial performance, and just to give people a bit of a view of where we've come from.
Thanks, Dan. So you would have seen the extraordinary growth over the last 3 years. 300% consecutive annual growth for FIN 19, FIN 20 and 2021. That will not continue, but we have seen really strong demand in the half that we're closing in 9 days' time. And therefore, we're really excited about the future. I think one of the pre-questions was around how the quarter is for September and December is lining up. We're really pleased with where that's finishing up, and we will record our strongest half for the business. And you would have seen also the waterfall on the left-hand side, which is a pro forma for the investigating accountants through the prospectus. So that's a 2.6 EBITDA, and there was a tweak in the graph that there was 3 graphs here. One of them right in the middle was the pro forma graph. On the top right-hand side is the audited numbers for FIN 19, 20 and 21. Dan talked about the sales of the portfolio, and certainly the PTZ and box camera range represents 2/3 of our revenue. And then 20% or 1/5 of it is the converters. So really strong financial performance for FIN 19, 20 and 21, and we're really pleased with where the half is going to close out.
Thanks, Bary. Yeah, we're really excited about certainly building a platform, I suppose, in terms of our growth over the last few years, where we've certainly created a lot of awareness of our products, and we see that being a great path to move forward. In terms of moving forward, we have some growth strategies which we'll talk about. There's really 2 parts to our growth strategy. One is expansion, and the other one is optimization. So on the expansion side of things, it's really expanding out a number of different areas of the company. Quite a lot of it is being spent on optimizing the business. So, as I've shown, we've sold over 40,000 pieces. We're getting to a point of economy of scale where we can start to manage the cost of goods of our products and make sure that we're getting the most optimized products from that point of view. But really, what we're looking at doing is expanding out our revenues from software. As I mentioned earlier, we have our cloud platform that we've started to roll out. We see that as a big driver moving forward for revenue in software. In addition to that, we've also got our development of roadmap products. I mentioned that we have a 5-year product roadmap. Part of the use of funds, which we'll talk about, is really expanding that. We have some great product announcements that we want to bring out, and we want to bring as many of those out as soon as possible. It's really about maintaining and accelerating our lead in this whole technology space to make sure that we are always seen as the leaders and innovators. And certainly the roadmap is there to produce that. And really the growth strategy is to bring that roadmap forward as quickly as possible. Some other things that are real key drivers for us are alliances with technology partners. I mentioned the Sharp NEC opportunity, which we think is a great one with our SDM solutions. We also have some other partnerships we're working on, which we'll talk about as we move forward to expand out that growth as well. So for us, partnering with larger organisations with global footprints allows more presence and allows more people to be talking about our products. So for us, they're really key as far as expanding the awareness and ultimately the growth of the company. From there, really, it's about market growth. Our core market and our history, if you like, is in live production. We've got a big push and focus on the AV industry, but we've also seen some really good success in telemedicine and education. So expanding out our portfolio and our go-to-market plans within those areas are also great places for us to expand our growth. Of course, M&A acquisition opportunities will come, and we'll keep them in mind. But I think probably the most important thing to note here is that our growth plans are not solely around mergers and acquisitions. We have a long way to go with our own roadmap and our own products. Optimizations, I mentioned one of those, which is really optimizing our cost of goods. We also want to increase a number of other areas where we can really get the most out of it. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the stock supply and silicon chip shortages. Everyone from Ford has had troubles with making cars through to TVs taking a long time to get here. No company is immune from this. The silicon chip shortage is around for a significant amount more time. We're really fortunate in our planning that we've been largely unaffected by that and continue to be so. So for us, building out that inventory of our products and making sure we have our cameras and our converters and all of our products in stock and ready to sell is a key advantage compared to some of our competitors. And we've already seen the opportunity that can unfold. When people don't have a choice because we're the only company with products in stock, that's an opportunity in itself. So optimizing our supply chains is something we're really working on. And Bary will talk a little bit more about the use of funds with that shortly. Really from there, it's the manufacturing side of things, as well as moving forward with having an enhanced manufacturing to produce more products. Working with other companies or other countries, I should say, allows us to get access to various different markets. For example, when we move our camera production or partially move our camera production to South Korea, that allows us to get onto what's called a GSA list. And that means in the USA, we don't necessarily need to go to tender for some government purchases. Again, creating a unique opportunity. So by optimizing our supply chain, we're actually unlocking another sales channel. So I might turn over to you just a bit more on the use of funds, Bary.
Sure, Dan, thank you. So 53 cents in the IPO raise of 33 is dedicated straight to what we call the inventory build. Dan talked about that briefly. It is really securing the future of our supply chain. And Dan and Eamon and I have just finished an exercise where we did the next 9 quarters of forecasting with our primary camera and converter manufacturers in order to secure that supply chain through to the end of 2023. So you would have seen the inventory build that Dan talked about. And apart from that, which is securing and enhancing our supply chain, the other key components on this use of funds are around accelerating the product roadmap that Dan's been talking about. And that really involves doubling our engineering output. So less than 15 months ago, Dan, we had 3 engineers, Eamon. We now have 7, and we're looking to at least double that over the next 12 or 13 months. So that's what really excites us, bringing that roadmap that Dan and Eamon have, accelerating that 5-year roadmap into 3 years and the 3-year product roadmap into 12, 18 months.
Absolutely. So I'll just speak very briefly on the executive team and also the board. We're really proud of what we've assembled as our board of directors, and you'll see their names up here. There's a bit of a bio in the invitation for this presentation, but also in the prospectus. Speaking of who we have, John Dixon, we're really proud to have John as our chair. He's certainly very experienced in large companies and small alike, and certainly growth companies. So he's got a great deal of experience and a really calm, cool head that's going to guide us through the process of listing. Obviously, we're very new to being on the stock market, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything in the right way, and John's certainly the right man to make sure that happens. Joining John, we have 2 other non-executive directors, which is Joanne Moss and Billy Baxter. Joanne Moss is really about our legal and governance side of things, again, ensuring best practices and some great experience in growth companies. And Billy Baxter is excellent from a company building point of view and marketing and making sure people understand our products. And certainly from a strategic point of view, we think we've got a great set of non-executive directors there. I briefly introduced the executive team, which you see 2 of them here. You'll see there that we've actually got quite a lot of history with each other. So Eamon, Bary and myself have all known each other for more than 10 years with various companies we've worked for and run and started up prior. And Eamon and I have actually known each other since teenagers. So we've got a lot of history, and that's great because we really do know how each other works, and it means that we've got our areas that we focus on and that we can really make the most of the opportunities that are there. The fourth person in the executive team is Jamie Ambrose. Again, Jamie Ambrose has some history with the rest of the executive team as well. And he's got some great experience in really ensuring as a company grows that those commercial best practices are really being held up to account. So really excited to have Jamie on board as part of the ELT as well. And I think between the 7 of us that make the board and the ELT, we're really confident with what the future brings for BirdDog and how we're going to go about that, making the right decisions. So I think with this, there's some appendices, I think, on the financials, and we'll probably in a moment sort of have a look at the Q&As. But what I might do just before that is just speak about the what's coming up, what to expect as far as the company. And really, for us, the IPO is really the starting line as far as we're concerned. We've had a great deal of run-up where we've been building our technology stack. But moving into Q3 and then beyond, we've got some great product announcements and also some great commercial announcements as well. So I think probably the biggest thing I can say is keep an eye on our social media for product announcements across all of our product ranges. And also make sure you keep, of course, abreast of any announcements in the ASX as well that we'll be sure to keep everyone up to date with.
Yeah, a lot of the feel good news is shared on LinkedIn. So if you follow us on LinkedIn, you'll keep up to date. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, guys. And you can follow our social media contacts on the bottom of our ASX releases. Again, we will be taking some Q&A. So if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. But gentlemen, I'll jump into it now. So we talked about high revenue growth. So Dan, to what extent do you expect such high revenue growth to carry forward into the future? And does COVID accelerate some of the forward demand?
Yeah, look, I think obviously if you look at the revenue growth, it's a pretty steep graph that's gone up there, and we all know how maths works, where it gets harder every time you want to continue to do that level of growth. The reality is we don't expect to have that same level of growth moving forward, but we certainly do expect to have growth and underlying profit within the business. The part of the industry we're in as far as making video over IP still has a long way to go. Effectively, we're replacing every camera, every product that's out there at the moment with the next generation of technology. So we certainly see there's a really bright future as far as where that goes. And we are absolutely confident that we're at the forefront of that technology. So there's certainly plenty of opportunities moving forward. In terms of the COVID, look, without a doubt, we've seen some great tailwinds from COVID. There's not many companies that can say that, and we're very conscious of that we don't want to make too much of a big deal. But really what it's done is brought forward what was going to happen anyway. There's people I was talking to back in 2019 that were planning 5 years out for their transition across to video over IP and NDI technology. And that's absolutely been accelerated because the need to have remote productions or less people involved in a production has been something that's been needed. But really the genie's out of the bottle now, and people aren't going back to the old way of making video productions. So we certainly see the awareness has been enhanced by COVID, but certainly not the overall opportunity being a short-term one. It's really just opened up the eyes of people doing live production or AV solutions that there is a better way and a newer way to do this. So we see ongoing some great opportunities.
Thank you. And just with the fast-moving space, how does BirdDog stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, look, I think that's there's probably two really easy answers to that. One is that we are a technology-first company. So by all means, in order to stay first in a technology space, we need to make sure that we continue to innovate. And that's what we've built the company on. I've mentioned a couple of times we've got a 5-year roadmap. We'd love to accelerate that as much as possible because there is, we certainly see where the future's going, and making sure that we are always seen as the innovators and always are the innovators is really the key to that. Now, of course, the IPO, a lot of that is actually all about that, to making sure that we have the company funded in a way that we can continue to optimize, continue to accelerate our roadmap and make sure that we are innovating all the time. So for us, absolutely, the protection of our company is in making sure that we can deliver those roadmap items that we're really confident we can and deliver them as soon as possible.
Thanks for that. There's been a few questions that have just come through, so I'm trying to combine them a little bit. So can you talk on the camera and also the NDI competition?
Yeah, sure. So our cameras, I mentioned just a little bit earlier, they look suspiciously like security cameras, but they're really not. Underneath the skin, our cameras are a broadcast camera in disguise. So our cameras are predominantly robotic cameras. They call them PTZ, or over in the USA, where a lot of our market is, they call them PTZs. And that means that they can robotically be controlled to pan, tilt, and zoom, which means that you can plug a cable into them and mount them on a roof or somewhere inaccessible by a person, but then you can remotely control them. And they're really attractive, not only in socially distanced productions, but just to get some really creative video shots. So these PTZ cameras are really an emerging phenomenon in any kind of live production. In terms of our cameras, really what we did when we set out to make these cameras is make sure we had the best we possibly could. So if you look at kind of where we sit, there's the big Japanese companies that make some really good cameras, but maybe they take some time and there's a much slower kind of development curve. And then there's some fast-moving security cameras which come out with some products that are quite innovative, but maybe don't have the quality that's there. And we really see ourselves combining the best of those worlds, where we have the quality of pictures that people come to expect for a live production, but really the innovation and also the portability and the control functions that really make the product useful and unique. So from our point of view, there is competition in some ways to our products, where we're not the only company to make cameras. But we are the only company that makes a camera that is this full NDI standard with the highest picture quality and the lowest latency. And keeping in mind that speed is really important for a live production. If you've got a big screen event with someone singing, for example, on the television behind them, you can't have delays. And our cameras are designed to work in those kind of high demand environments. So we've got the highest quality, the fastest cameras on the market, but also with the greatest features. And that's seen us really ward off any competition from the biggest manufacturers around the world, right through to some of the smallest ones that are coming up with some innovative products. So we see, whilst competition is good, we absolutely feel that we're besting those in every category.
Thanks, Dan. And just further to that then, so what do you think is NDI's share of new networked video installations versus the other protocol standards like SMPTE, Dante AV, HD Base T?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different standards that you've mentioned there, and they're all great ones that have sort of come along. So in terms of the proliferation of NDI, it's been really successful for a couple of reasons. One really is the ease of management, and that's something that those other formats like SMPTE, which is an industrial standard used by some broadcasters, it really is a challenge to set up and maintain. Where NDI, it's the same as installing a web browser on your computer. It's extremely easy to use. So the barrier to entry with NDI is much lower, which means there's been a lot more people take it up. And that means that people that are doing small streaming shows in regional towns and things are able to do that, where those other formats like SMPTE, you need to have a really big budget and almost a PhD to run the solution. In terms of other formats, we've got our friends that create Dante AV. There's definitely some other formats coming, and we absolutely welcome any competition that comes there. BirdDog create products that are NDI compliant, but we do actually work with companies like Dante for our audio implementations as well. So should other formats come along that are really taken up by people, we of course can look to accommodate those as well. But certainly for the moment, the proliferation of NDI, I would say, makes it by far and away, by an order of magnitude, I'd almost say the most popular format for video over IP at current.
Yeah, if I may, NDI is built into applications such as Zoom and Teams now. So there's literally hundreds of millions of devices that already support NDI in the world. So, yeah.
Thank you. Another technical one for you guys. So how does BirdDog cooperate or interact with Intel on SDM?
Yeah, so the SDM solution, which is our product that's designed to be embedding our technology directly into a commercial display or a display, creating a really simple solution for corporate boardrooms or video walls and all sorts of things. We've got a really great relationship with Intel, and with that we've developed our product to make sure it not only adheres to the standard, but also has some really unique opportunities or unique performance. So we have regular calls with Intel, and we have a license agreement with them to ensure that our products are completely compliant with that. And we do, again, have a really unique offering there in the fact that we're the only SDM solution that supports the full gamut of NDI solutions. that is also designed to be directly built into a display. So really tight relationships there, which sort of harks back to what I was talking about with the alliances and working with larger companies to create greater awareness. So we're expecting that that alliance and that relationship we have with Intel will pay dividends from that side of things as well.
Great. Now, just on to the manufacturing. So the manufacturing move to Badminton in South Korea, will that be in conjunction with existing Chinese manufacturing?
Yeah, so I think it's probably very clear to say that we're not planning on moving our manufacturing. We're planning on enhancing the manufacturing capabilities as we grow. So from our point of view, from a supply chain side of things, that is the centre of the universe for supply chain and making sure that our products can be delivered on time and delivered at a price point that makes the company successful. We certainly are mindful that there's opportunities that we can take if we do expand out our manufacturing capabilities in different areas. So it's really an additional supplement to our manufacturing capabilities in China that we'll be looking at expanding out to Korea and also Busan.
Just another one back to NDI. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. But what is the relationship with New Tech and NDI? Yeah,
so New Tech actually, firstly, we've got a fantastic relationship with New Tech and NDI. Our previous company that Eamon and I set up, we were the wholesale distributor for New Tech products. They actually developed this technology called NDI. Their chief product architect, Dr. Andrew Cross, developed NDI, and we were fortunate enough to hear about this before it actually became a public format. And so NDI is very much part of New Tech's DNA. And then as time has progressed, New Tech have realised that the opportunity for NDI is far greater than just being a part of their product mix. And so they've split that out into a separate business unit. So whilst they are under the same corporate umbrella, they are operated as a completely independent business unit, being NDI versus New Tech.
So then another one popped up. So are you able to move the GP margin to the level of Logitech, which is say around 40 to 45%?
Yeah, look, I think we can both talk about that. Margins are something that is really important, obviously, for any company. For us, the number one thing we wanted to do was interrupt the industry. So with our products, when we first brought them to market, we didn't want price to be the barrier for people to want to uptake this technology. So deliberately, our strategy has been to make these products as affordable as possible. As we move forward, a lot of our new products are seeing significant increases in margin, and that will happen over a couple of reasons. One is that our optimizing of our manufacturing and product design and supply chain, you'll see that new products will have higher margins, but also just the mix of products we have are becoming higher value, which also means that they're higher margin as well. So we're very aware that, and we personally want to increase our margins as well, but it was a deliberate decision to begin with to make the product as accessible as possible to get that awareness out there. So by all means, we're looking at expanding out that margin as we move forward, and certainly that kind of a margin rate is something we're moving towards, or certainly aspiring to.
Thank you. And I know we obviously can't really comment on this, but how is the December quarter tracking so far?
Thanks, Jane. I talked briefly about the half, and our 4C will be released at the end of January, which will talk about the quarter. So thanks for the warning, Jane, so to speak. So we won't be predicting that in advance, but we're very comfortable with where we will close out the half. And therefore, we certainly did have a very strong September quarter. The December quarter, we did see some patterns, some buying behaviours accelerate their traditional December quarter buying into that September quarter, based off supply chain uncertainties that everyone around the world has experienced. Touch wood, we are continuing to be really cognizant around that, but have been fortunate to date with our planning to not be impacted by that. So we are very comfortable with where we will close out the first half of FY 22, which closes in 9 days.
Wonderful. And just finally, so what are you most excited about, and what should shareholders be looking forward to over the next coming weeks?
Look, I think the simple answer is the future. We're really excited about what this means. Yesterday was a really big day for us, and something we've been working on for quite some months. But what it really means is it unlocks the future of the company. We've got a huge amount of products that we want to bring out, and frankly, we want to work at the speed of our ideas rather than the speed of our cash that we have in the bank. So from that point of view, it really is accelerating out that product roadmap. I can't wait to be announcing new products and reporting that through both the ASX and social media channels. There's some great things coming, and I think for us, Q3 is going to be a really exciting quarter. We've got some great products coming out there. And I think beyond that, really, it's for us personally, it's getting out and seeing our customers. The last couple of years, as we've all been locked down, we've been really successful, and we've had some really good product wins and things like that. But to be able to get out and see how people are using our products more is going to be really exciting. So at this point, we've got some trade shows and industry events that we've got planned. Obviously, we need to see what happens with that, but I think those really create even more awareness and will drive growth as we move forward as well. So for us, it's really just next year is probably the thing we're excited about because there's so much coming.
Thank you all for joining us today for the BirdDog Technology Investor Webinar. If we've missed any of your questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details on the bottom of our ASX releases. But otherwise, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, one and all.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks, Jane, for setting it up.